In this video, I'm going to be showing how to use the layers function in Lighthouse for MAX version 10. Using layers allows you to create multiple labels within one label file and then have them be printed depending on certain criteria that you can choose from. In the case of this label file, I am going to be printing different directions of arrows depending on a variable that I'm going to be typing in. Down in the bottom left of the screen, you can see there are three small subtabs here. We have Data, Layers, and Objects. In this case, I need to choose Layers, and you'll see that you already start off with one default layer just called Layer. It is a good idea to keep this because you can put anything on this layer that won't be changing between label files, such as the cut shape, which I have already inserted here. Before I start creating my additional layers, I first of all need to create the variable that they will be dependent on for their printability. To do that, I need to go to the Data tab, and then you can see at the top we have variables and a button here that says Add New Variable. I will choose this, and I will go with the top variable here, and I will call this Label Direction. And then I'll press Create Variable. I can then double click on this newly created entry and it will bring up this menu here where all I need to change is the prompt at the bottom of the screen. This is enabled by default, and then I will enter what the prompt will say. In my case, I will be asking the user, enter label direction. This will show up when I press print and will allow me to type in either left or right depending on which direction I would like the arrow to face. I can now press OK, and once I have created my variable, I can move back to the Layers tab and start adding in my additional layers. To add in additional layers, I can choose this green plus here that if you mouse over, it says Add Layer. Once I choose this, it will open up this layer properties, and first of all, I'm going to rename this to left so that I can better keep track of it. In the lower half here, you can see we have the visibility when label is printed. I do need to keep visible ticked. However, just below, I'm going to tick this box here next to where it says condition. This will allow me to create a statement that will define whether this layer can be printed. In this case, I'm going to use this drop down to say if the label direction variable is equal to left, then this layer will then be printed. I can now choose OK, and it has added it to the list. You can now see that once I have added a new layer, some of the other buttons have now no longer grayed out. You can see there is a red X here. This allows you to delete certain layers. And just on the right side, we have these arrows. This allows you to change how high priority each layer is. And just next to each layer, you'll have a small button here where you can toggle the visibility. This will not change whether it can print. This will only change how it views in the designer. You can also lock the layer, and you can highlight layer, where it will show it on the screen and grey out everything else. All I need to do now is just add in my second layer. In this case, I'm going to press the green plus again, rename this to right, and I will also add the condition so that if my label direction is equal to right, it will print this layer instead of the left one. I'll now press OK, and at this point, once I have created my label, I can now start adding in my different label elements, which I'm going to do now. Now that I have created my label file, you can see here on the left hand side I have my different layers. At the moment they are all visible, so they are all currently on top of each other, but if I hide, for example, this right layer, you can see I've created this left layer that has the text saying to turn left and also the left facing arrow, with the opposite applying to the right layer where they are obviously pointing to the right and saying to turn right. Now that I've created this and I've set up my layers along with the dependent variable, I can now go to print. And initially you can see that the preview is blank. I can only see my cut shape. And this is because I have yet to enter the prompt just here. So I am now going to type in left, and then click away to update the preview. And you can see that it's now updated to enter this left-facing arrow. It is also worth noting that this entry is not case sensitive. For example, if I type in right in all capitals and then update the preview again, it will still work. It will still see it as saying right.